Hello and welcome into lcpioneers.com live, presented by PioStream, as we are with you 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time on Facebook Live, and available on demand to watch inside the fan zone at lcpioneers.com. You can also find us on YouTube, youtube.com/lcpios, keeping you connected with student athletes, coaches, alumni, and different members from our Lewis and Clark College community. Appreciate joining us today. I am Ryan Goff. I'm the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark. We are the Pioneers out of Portland, Oregon, and competing in 19 intercollegiate programs across all of NCAA Division III as a member of the Northwest Conference. So 9 teams in Northwest Oregon and the state of Washington, competing against 430 other institutions plus across the entire country, a chance for our student athletes to compete on a national stage and get that opportunity too with Lewis and Clark for a global experiential liberal arts education. It has been fun to stay in touch with you over the course of the last 9 months or so. We started the show back on the last day of March and now into our second show of 2021. And so in a few minutes, we'll bring in the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator for Lewis and Clark football, Joe Bushman, will join us. And we'll ask Joe about his experience in the first season where there was a season, 2019, and then last fall having to respond to a pandemic. What was it like for the coaching staff? What was it like for the student athletes as they went to Lewis and Clark without a traditional fall season? And then what's ahead for Pioneers football as well? Plus, Joe competed in the Northwest Conference too, so kind of that full circle as he came to Lewis and Clark after winning a state championship as the head coach of Clackamas High School. We will invite you to get comments. You can give us your feedback in the Facebook Live comments. You can also email us anytime. If you have a suggestion for a future guest or something that you want to see on the show, please let us know. Our email address is sports@lclark.edu. And then, of course, you can find us too on social media, not only Facebook, but we're available on Twitter and Instagram at LC Pioneers. And we continue to update things on our website, lcpioneers.com. Of course, we have all of our past lcpioneers.com live episodes and keeping you updated on everything that's going on with COVID-related things as well. Anything that pertains to Lewis and Clark athletics when it comes to COVID-19, available at lcpioneers.com/COVID. So updates on schedules, different things that come down from the NCAA or the Northwest Conference specific to athletics. That's where we put those on our website at lcpioneers.com/COVID. And then I mentioned the fan zone is a link where you can find all of our past shows, but of course you can find us also on YouTube, our interview on Tuesday, the first show of 2021 with junior from women's tennis Rachel Rice, available as part of our playlist at youtube.com/lcpios. All right, let's bring in our guest for today. We have a chance to catch up with the assistant head coach of Lewis and Clark football and talk all things Pioneers on the gridiron. It is Joe Bushman joining us today. Joe, thanks for making time for us and getting some insight into what has been now your first 2 seasons with the Pioneers. And I think that that's a fun place to start is that opening 2019 season. You know, you come in as the offensive coordinator. The team has a tremendous amount of success from the 4-win mark, doubling what they had the seasons before. Let's start with what made you excited about the opportunity to come to Lewis and Clark and become a collegiate football coach.
Oh, hey, Ryan. Well, for starters, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I think what got me excited, I really enjoyed my interaction with Coach Losi. You know, he was a big draw for me. Philosophy's the same as far as the way we want to treat kids and make a difference in their lives. So to me, that, he kind of recruited me once the position was open. And, going into this season, I was excited because I felt like the program was really on the rise. When Jay took over, they didn't win games for a couple years, and then kind of broke through with 2 wins, 2 consecutive years, and I just felt like the thing was about ready to push, and I felt like I could help do that. So I was excited for the potential. I was excited because the kids. I love the kids. I mean, we're so blessed to have such a great group of kids up there who want to succeed academically and on the field. They're great to work with. And I think I was also excited because I feel like the administrative support is good right now. I feel like from what I've heard, it's better than it's ever been as far as providing support for athletics and football. And so I just felt like, hey, this is a great opportunity to come break into the college game and hopefully win some football games. So that's the long answer.
Well, let's walk through that first season with you as the offensive coordinator. I do enjoy it just as an anecdote because I'm right next to the coach's booth. So you pretty much sit adjacent to me as we're doing the radio broadcast. And so it was fun to observe everything that was happening from an offensive standpoint through that piece of glass. What was it that you felt like you did accomplish in the 2019 season on the offensive side of the ball? And where did you feel like you had room to grow heading into the 2020 year?
That's a great question, Ryan. I think what we accomplished is we laid the framework for what we want to do, and it took a while, but we got the kids to buy into what we're doing. They never run a no huddle spread type offense like that before, so there were definitely some growing pains. But by the end of the year, they were bought into the tempo we want to play with, and I also think they were bought into our pound the rock philosophy, which means we want to be able to establish running the football, and everything kind of builds off of that. And I think that was kind of witnessed in our last game against Puget Sound, where we were able to grind out some touchdowns at the end of the game to kind of put it away. So definitely more positives than negatives. Room to grow. I think that for me, I'm going against some really good defensive minds in our league, and so for the first time in a long time, I was caught off guard a couple times with some packages, some teams threw at us, and I hated that feeling. I always pride myself on being a hard worker and being prepared, and there were a couple times where I didn't feel like I had the kids as prepared as I should have, but now I got a better idea what to expect. Have worked hard in the off season, researching and putting together a game plan for those specific defenses, and we'll be ready to go this year.
Our guest is Joe Bushman, the assistant head coach for Lewis and Clark football on lcpioneers.com live. And you talked about going up against some of the opponents in the Northwest Conference. What is this conference, especially as we'll get to later in the interview? You were a member of this as a student athlete, but what is it about the Northwest Conference as far as the challenge, the caliber of football that's played?
Well, I think everybody is competitive, and so there's no weeks off. In high school there were always a couple teams you could kind of show up and maybe go through the motions on, but in the Northwest Conference you have a bunch of quality teams who are all very well coached. You have intelligent kids across the board, so the schemes that you go against are definitely complex, and it's fun though. It's a challenge every week. We had some games that we let get away from us last year that we really weren't as competitive in as we would have liked to have been. But I got the feeling that's going to change. I feel like we are going to be able to compete with the better teams in our league on a consistent basis next year. And for me, it's just fun to get pushed. It's easy to show up and win when you got somebody overmatched, but when you have some comparative talent level and you get pushed, that's to me what brings out the true competitive joy, I guess, if you will. So I'm looking forward to that, and I know I enjoyed that last year.
So I imagine it had to be frustrating to know that you weren't going to have a fall 2020 season last year on the heels of the pandemic, and so you go into practices last fall. What was that like from a coaching perspective to facilitate kind of an ever-changing target, especially with as many student athletes that are on a football roster, right? You have a lot more personnel that's involved. How did the coaching staff navigate that fall 2020?
That's another good question, Ryan. I thought we did a great job as a program, to be honest. Once the initial shock kind of wore off, we kind of just embraced it and said, hey, it is what it is. Let's get over it. Let's move on, and let's get better. And I'll tell you, that was being able to practice a few times each week was a godsend for the kids. I mean, they loved getting out there and interacting with each other and the coaching staff, and the juice and energy was fantastic. And for us, we really got to put in our schemes, really work on mastering some fundamentals that we needed to. And so, we kind of took the mindset that, hey, everybody's in the same boat. We have an opportunity to grow maybe more than some other teams right now. So let's do it. And I felt like we really did. I felt like our kids came together. Their bond is even stronger. And for me, I feel like offensively we were able to make some good headway. So I thought it was positive.
Give us an insight into the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. It's clearly not just an offensive coordinator when it comes to helping the student athletes excel. Describe some of the coaches. Give us some insight on those helping you on the offensive side.
Sure. Well, we're blessed to have Renato Felina, who's our head offensive line coach. He was with me at Clackamas the last 3 years. Very good young coach. It all starts with the line, So I think he like me has had some growing to do his first year, but I think he is settled in and is going to continue to do a great job with our offensive line. Joining him is Thompson Siri, who is also with me at Clackamas. He'll be helping out with the offensive line and also coaching tight ends. And he's kind of that director of football operations type guy. He's very well versed in technology and all the things the rest of us can't figure out. So he's an invaluable member of our staff. Our receivers are coached by Jay Losi, who's the head coach, and Jay's been great for me. Great offensive mind in the passing game, and so we've really been able to bounce ideas off each other and make each other better, which I think is great. And Randy Fisher, who helped me out at Clackamas, he's actually going to be helping Jay as well this year, which will be great. And then running backs, boy, we're blessed. We have Bruce Reed, who is our special teams coordinator. He's one of our running back coaches, very well versed, great special teams coach, obviously, but has done a good job with our running backs. And then recently we added Marcus Lattimore, who played at South Carolina. He's also our life coach, and Marcus has just done a great job bringing juice to the program, and we're excited about him as well. So I feel good about our offensive staff going into year two. Things are definitely a lot easier. The first year is a definite learning curve, not only for players and coaches, but I feel like we've really got a good foundation and we've got a good thing going.
Our guest is Joe Bushman on lcpioneers.com live, head football coach for Lewis and Clark. And we're with you 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live. Appreciate everyone who's joining us today. And you can watch all of our past shows on demand at youtube.com/lcpios. And we've referenced it several times now. Clackamas High School, that's where you were prior to coming to Lewis and Clark. And you win an Oregon OSAA 6A state championship with the Cavaliers. Describe all the work that goes into getting a program to the level to win a championship and how satisfying it was to ultimately hoist that trophy.
It's amazing. We weren't always a powerhouse. We had our rough years. And so for us to kind of dig in and build that program up over the past 7 years and culminate with a state championship was really special. And that's what we're trying to do at Lewis and Clark. I think there's something to be said for coming into a program that's down and being part of something that builds its way to success. That's really rewarding. And for me at Clackamas, that was what was so cool is you had a bunch of neighborhood kids who stuck together, didn't transfer to the private schools, were super close as a team. And then a great coaching staff as well. And we hung in there and we were close, going to the quarterfinals, semifinals, year in and year out, and then finally breaking through that with that title. So it was awesome. I loved every minute of it. Hopefully we can do the same thing up at LC.
And you played your high school football in Oregon, Portland specifically, and then you compete in the Northwest Conference both at Lewis and Clark and Willamette. Give us an insight into when you knew football was it. When did you know that you were going to be good at football? And then also, when was that moment you realized coaching was in your future?
Yeah, I don't know how good I was at football. At Benson, I was around a lot of really fantastic athletes, and that made me look good. So we were able to win a state championship my senior year, last one for PIL, which is pretty cool. But I think that kind of planted the seeds. I loved leading that team. I loved the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the chemistry. I think that's what kind of started. At Lewis and Clark and Willamette, I was pre-med and was all set to go that route. And then about my senior year, I had Coach Hawkins come in, who was at Willamette at the time, and he asked me if I'd be interested in coaching, and I just at that point I was like, God, I just love this game so much. And I had some classes where I kind of served as a tutor for different students and classmates, and I just kind of got a rush out of helping people, and so that kind of led me into my career. Now I know my wife wish I would have stayed in medical to go to medical school and become a doctor, but I chose the path of education. I don't have any regrets. I just love coaching kids. I just feel like I've been blessed to get to do what I'd wake up and do every day if I wasn't getting paid. So teaching kids, coaching kids, and getting to be around the best game in the world, it's pretty special.
All right, so we talked about your first season, 2019, and then the fall not having any competition. So now we look ahead to what could be in 2021-22. How excited are you about this program and what could be when we go to the next academic year?
I'm super excited about our returning kids. They believe we can be successful. I know it's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be easy, but we're hoping to build on what we did last year and become upper echelon team in the league. I feel like we are building towards that. That is the goal. We need to have a great year in recruiting, especially with our offensive line. We feel like we have some really good kids, but we just don't have a lot of depth. So if we can bring in some offensive linemen and add some depth there to go with the plethora of quality skill kids we have, I think we could be very explosive.
So how's the golf game?
It's gotten better, Ryan. I humbled myself and took a couple lessons. So that's one thing. Being a coach, you tend to be coachable. So worked on it. I'm going to play today. So pray for me.
I will, and I appreciate you making a stop to join us on the show. And as soon as everything is non-pandemic, hopefully maybe we can go out on the course sometime.
I'd like that.
All right, that's Joe
Bushman. Thanks for having me, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Joe Bushman joining us on lcpioneers.com live. Thanks, Coach. Yeah, it's been a good addition to the staff for Lewis and Clark, and all those things that he talked about, experience in the conference, but certainly also experience taking a program like Clackamas and turning it into a winner and adding that into Coach Losey's staff at Lewis and Clark. And you could see once that offense started clicking, and he referenced the Puget Sound game. That was one of the keystone moments for Lewis and Clark. They beat Puget Sound at the end of the year, finished 2019 on an upswing, got that fourth win, which was twice as many wins that they had in the prior season as well as the season before that, right? Going from 2-win seasons to 4-win seasons, and it just felt like it was building. Michael Abraham, an all-Northwest Conference selection, unanimous when it came to the 2018 season, having success with the running game in the 2019 season, and then Caden Vogues and Cruz Montana doing some great things at the quarterback position to an outstanding group of receivers. And that line, that offensive line had burrowed the way, blocked the way for more rushing yards than the Pioneers had in quite some time. So there's that consistency on offense you could see happening when Coach Bushman's team kind of clicked in what they were trying to do offensively. And it was neat to see. Clearly, I wish we had been able to see it in fall 2020, but hopefully as soon as we can, more football to come with the Lewis and Clark Pioneers. That completes our week. We don't have a guest scheduled for tomorrow, so we're going to go ahead and take tomorrow off. We'll work on getting a full 4-show week with guests coming up starting on Tuesday. So be sure to look for all of the postings related to our shows next week. We usually have them up on our website, lcpioneers.com/live, which takes you to the Facebook Live page. We should have all of those up no later than Sunday. At worst, it's Monday, but it's usually by the end of the weekend you'll see who's ahead. I think we're going to have Drew Groshong on, the former Lewis and Clark men's golfer. I think that is for sure someone that we're planning to have, but we'll continue to schedule everyone and put those up on our website, lcpioneers.com/live, to get to lcpioneers.com live. So for Coach Bushman for joining us, for you watching as well with us, I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks so much for having fun with us. We will see you again soon for more of the show, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, and available to watch on demand inside the fan zone on our website, as well as youtube.com/lcpios. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day.
I'm Ann Bentley. I'm an associate professor of chemistry, and in this research group, I supervise the 2 students working in the Rogers program this summer in our lab. The brown bag experience is a good chance for students to get experience presenting their work that they've done in the lab, especially to an audience that's not technical.
What's intriguing about the brown bag experience is it incorporates all of the Rogers program. So I'm able to hear people in the psychology department and what research they're doing, but it also gives us the opportunity to share our research with the greater science community at Lewis and Clark. And for incoming students, the summer program is really beneficial for getting opportunity in research. So I've had the opportunity for research in the past, but other students may not have the same opportunities. So it's nice to work in a professional lab setting and potentially have the opportunity to publish a paper, which looks really good moving on into doing professional research out in the field.
The students grow a lot during the summer in their ability to learn the techniques and apply the techniques and suggest their own ideas for what could come next and interpret their data. It's just a big, usually if they haven't done research before, they learn a lot in that short period of time.